how would you grade the Pro Tour's growth over the past 5 seasons since the COVID boom? This is kind of can reflect not just monetary growth, but also growth in professionalism, logistics, and overall brand image, since the schedule will really reflect a lot of those things. Does their underwhelming purse growth undersell other success that they've achieved? Would you give them much higher grades in other categories? Hannah, what do you think?
Yeah, so my overall grade would be a D because they haven't failed, but unfortunately, they never fully capitalized on what they had at the time. If they had failed, we would be looking at big losses in viewership and major issues and failures beyond the minor things we gripe about each week. They needed to do something to keep trying to draw in new customers instead of just milking their loyal customers over and over again. In the process of the growth, they did not do a good job of actually working to maintain that growth that they experienced from COVID. And they have made a lot of headway, though, with brand image and logistics, but with the inconsistencies across DGN and in-person experiences, the way the purses have ebbed and flowed way more than I think we expected or hoped for, and the lack of professionalism kind of overall that still exists, they definitely have an uphill battle on their hands. Now, as an optimistic person, I fully believe we will see them improve this grade over time, and things that maybe seem impossible now will be achieved, but they have a long ways to go and they're just not there yet. I think they have they need to do a lot more crossover events, like kind of what we saw with the Creator Challenge. That would be really fun. That was a great place to start. It was incredibly fun to watch. And I think something like that should be a lot more common on tour, where they start dipping into other areas and other content creators or influencers or other skill sets to kind of draw them into the sport of disc golf, because then you're bringing in more eyes and more viewership. And sure, always at the end of the day, people who play disc golf and care about it may not ever watch it. But until the Pro Tour starts to bridge that gap to some extent, their grade is never really going to improve.
Okay, tough grade there. Brody, do you agree?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think like coverage has gotten better. I think we have more cameras than we did several years ago. I feel like we're getting, heck, what Hunter was talking about with Ledgestone, a lot of people don't remember. There were like multiple holes that we just never saw. And so like someone would just pop out and be like, yeah, they blew up. So they're like way off the lead now. You didn't even get to see it, where now we're getting to see every hole from the leaders at least. So, I mean, I think it's easy sometimes to be like, yeah, the purses haven't gone up. The viewership really hasn't changed that much. I think it's easy to kind of have Hannah's point of like, they really haven't capitalized. But then again, like disc golf might just be a niche sport. It might just be in a spot where a lot of people like playing it, but don't enjoy watching it. And how do you change that? I don't know. Like, I don't know. And so I don't know. To me, it's like, I think they're trying to do the best they can. And yeah, do they do weird things sometimes? Sure, but they're a small company and they don't have a huge budget. So I feel like you're going to see that a lot more often there than with a big company with lots of money. It's a very tough question, because I think we all want what's best, and we all strive for it to be football, strive for it to be golf or whatever. And it's like, I just don't think it's going to be disc golf. That's just what it is.
Sure. All right. Brody doesn't have all the answers. Hunter, what do you think?
I gotta, apparently I'm the more optimistic one between Hannah and I, which, that might be the first time I've ever thought of that, but who knows? I give him a B, because look, we got to look at a few things. First, let's go back to 2020, right? Live coverage, it sucked. I was a huge proponent of live coverage. I love it. Always have, always will. There was nothing better than getting to watch stuff happen live, but it was terrible. Nowadays, it has gotten increasingly better, to the point where, you even don't even see the spoiler thing nearly as much as you used to. Remember, in 2021, I couldn't tweet about anything going on without everyone being like, "Oh my gosh, I had to block Hunter. Are you kidding me? This guy's spoiling all lives." Like, blah blah. You can talk about disc golf freely, and when someone's like spoilers, it's like it feels like a lot bigger percentage of people that are watching disc golf are watching it live. That's thanks to the huge strides they've made, the Pro Tour has made. Not to mention, whether you like it or not, the contract they got Jomez under that led to the buyout of Jomez for basically nothing worked out greatly in the Disc Golf Pro Tour's favor. And if you go to an event on the ground, as someone who's went to events for a decade now, the event you go to now, while it's still far from the PGA Tour, is miles above 2020. I mean, night and day difference going on the ground now versus back then. So to be able to do all of that in a sport that over the last 5 years has arguably neutralized popularity because we had the spike and then got back down and leveled out, or possibly even shrunk from the peak to where we are now, to have growth as an organization throughout that, I think is very remarkable. And the fact that all those other things are growing, to me, means they're investing in the future, and that's why the purse isn't growing, because they're trying to grow everything that will eventually lead to a purse growth. So I think there's a lot they could do better. So that's why it's not an A or an A+, but I'd give them a very solid B.
Okay. All right, Moses, let's hear from you. Where do you sit? Optimistic, pessimistic, or right in the middle?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more in the middle. Hannah, when you said D, my jaw dropped a little bit. That was crazy. That was such a harsh grade. I think it's really easy to point at the Pro Tour and ask about what hasn't been done, what hasn't changed versus not being big enough, big sponsors, not taking advantage of coded and everything else. But I think looking at it logistically, first of all, I look back at Idlewild in 2020, what the purse was. It was $55,000. This year, $105,000. Okay, so we kind of doubled. Maple Hill, 5 years ago, $44,000. This year, $120,000. Get there different tournaments, but still. 2019 Worlds, $116,000. 2025 Worlds, $200,000. Granted, as much as the sport has grown, should the purses probably be bigger? Yes. But that's just something to consider. Like, there is growth there. And then think about the optics. I'm using the eye test here, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but who's going to argue that the Pro Tour is in a worse spot now than they were 5 years ago? Who would argue that the sport isn't more professional, from the actual events on the ground, the players, the way they take care of themselves, everything else? Who would argue that? To me, overall, this sport is just in a better place than it was 5 years ago. And I don't really think you can argue much against that. You could argue, should the growth be bigger? Maybe. But I think it's kind of a slow burn from the Disc Golf Pro Tour. They're gradually getting better year over year, and there has not been regression. The sport has not gotten worse in the past 5 years in any way.
Yeah. I mean, it is tough to quantify. Obviously, there has been some purse growth, like you mentioned, but a lot of it, I think coverage is a huge part of it. The schedule reflects it, because I think they're trying to work out the kinks and figure that out. And I think this year is like one of the more comprehensive looking schedules we've had. So a lot of things, they're still fine tuning awards and standings and things like that. But things are smoothing out a bit more, it seems like,
The
to
awards
where
and standings are one thing, but it's like the actual product in front of you has not gotten worse.
No, not at all.
I mean, I remember live coverage, like Hunter was saying, it was like people would argue if it was worth $5.
Well, yeah. I mean, because if you go back, probably 5 years ago, we were just watching lead card, and you get like maybe a shot. Now, I mean, we used to talk all the time about how they need more cameras. We should be watching so much more golf. Now you're watching so much golf that it's like the argument of live versus post it's like, you doesn't even feel like I'm sitting down for hours, because it's more just like, if you're watching post, there's a solid chance you're not even going to see the guys that come on the podium. Yeah. Like if you're just watching one card, and so much so that even Jomez now is almost like a live product, because they have to bring in so much of the chase card coverage and stuff like that to tell the full story, that it's 2 hours to watch a Jomez round versus like 3 hours to watch the live. So it's not even that argument anymore. Right. It's crazy.
Yeah. The new problem now is, which I don't know what they're going to do this offseason, but watching live now, they got to figure out the storytelling better, because right now, before you would just see people walking down the fairways, you would see people taking forever at their lives because you didn't have anything else to cut to. But now we've seen many times, I mean, Idlewild's a perfect example. They like cut straight to like Paul's drive on 18 with like no setup.
Yeah.
Like there was no like, hey, this is a really important shot. Yeah. This is what he needs
Sometimes
to be doing.
They undersell it.
And so now it's like almost they have so much that they need to figure out a better system of like, okay, hey, let's record this shot. We'll show that not live in a few minutes. They don't do enough of that, where right now they feel like they have to only show live shots, and it makes the storytelling a little bit rushed sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's like the opposite issues. They have too much now
right.
for the crew that are kind of running the behind the scenes.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance to it that they have to figure out now.